Hello, gang. This is Dr. Glenn Doyle from useyourdamnskills.com, and I'm a board member with Seek Safely, advocating for greater ethics and accountability in the self-help industry. And today, over on his Facebook page, James Arthur Ray is talking about Sedona, and I am here for it. I'm very excited about this because for a long time, James was really reluctant to talk about Sedona. If you went on any of his social media platforms and brought up the subject of Sedona, one of two things would happen. Like either your comment would disappear straight away, or if you happen to catch James in a big mood, he would respond to your comment and tell you that you were living in the past. He would tell you, man, that was 10 years ago. And he would tell you that, look, you got to move on. What kind of person lives in the past like that? But apparently it's only living in the past when somebody else brings up Sedona. When he brings up Sedona, it is a parable about how you can come back from adversity and tragedy. So what he's doing over there on his Facebook page today, he replicates the posts from his personal Facebook page and the official James Arthur Ray page. But what's going on over there is he has a post that he wrote a while ago, because he recycles these things. Like he claims that he writes these things every day. He doesn't. I write the post fresh every day on the Dr. Glenn Doyle page. James claims that he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he writes fresh content for his page. He does not. Like, if you follow his page, you'll notice the repetition. In fact, it's kind of fun. Like sometimes he forgets to edit out parts of his blog content that will date the entry. Right? So a couple weeks ago, he was referring to the discord that was just then happening in Charlottesville, like the racial discord, right? So that's how current his stuff is. But anyway, if you go on over there, this is this post that he's seen a couple times before, but he likes this shtick where he will list the things that he lost after the 2009 accident in Sedona. And by the way, I call it an accident because it was an accident. Nobody set out to kill anybody that day. The actual occurrence itself was an accident, and your mileage may vary about how avoidable that accident may have been, just like any accident, right? I do kind of like his shtick where he claims that this is the first time, his conviction was the first time that an accident was prosecuted as a crime in our country. It's not. It happens all the time, actually, but whatever. So over there on James Arthur Ray's Facebook page, he's listing all the things that he lost, and he mad about it, man. Like he lost his business, and he lost his reputation, and the media, which used to be all over him. So back in the day, he was on Oprah a couple times. And so he was, the media did love him for a minute, because the media loves Oprah, right? Like that's the whole point of Oprah's book club. And that's why people seek out Oprah to, when Lance Armstrong was making his big, confession. Like Oprah is big business. And if you're on Oprah, the media will love you for a minute. So James is lamenting the fact that, man, the media who loved him turned on him. And, he lost friends and business associates, etc., etc. And eventually he lost his liberty. Poor James. I know. It's such a drag. All the stuff that James lost as a result of the accident in 2009 in Sedona. Poor guy. He wasn't trying to kill anybody. All he was trying to do was help people. And he lost a bunch of stuff. The point of his post is, he says, look, even though everything kind of fell apart, when things are falling apart, they're actually coming together, kind of on this broader scale. And this is a theme that we hear in the self-help universe a lot. This idea that, okay, well, adversity Some people say that, well, adversity always happens for a reason, or it's a manifestation of things that you were attracting into your experience that you didn't realize you were attracting into your experience. And so it can be used to kind of refine your vision. But it's this broad theme of like when things are falling apart, they're actually coming together, etc., etc. And the reason why he gets on this spiel is because he has a book coming out and he feels that this whole shtick is marketable. Like he knows that the people who are going to be attracted to his material, and really the people who are attracted to self-help material, generally are struggling. And so his story of having come back from a great deal of adversity, having been walloped by life, and coming back from a great deal of adversity, he knows that that's going to resonate with a subset of people. And one of the reasons why I think it's important to talk about this is because not just because of people who might become invested in James Arthur Ray's products and services, but I absolutely think that it speaks to a broader theme out there in the self-help industry, because a lot of self-help figures use this as a marketing shtick. This idea of, man, I have been walloped by life and I was down and out and circumstances that you can't even imagine, but I came back and you can too. By using my material, you can come back too. If you take a look at, so we're going to take James's shtick as just kind of an example, as a case study in kind of this broader pattern in self-help. The comeback story of having lost things and coming back. It's something that I noticed. So I posted on, I made a post on the Seek Safely Facebook page here, just a bit ago. You can scroll down on this page and take a look at what I had to say. So I both made the post and then I commented on the post. But something that strikes me whenever he lists the things that he lost in 2009, his business, his friends, his liberty, etc., etc. The big thing that always occurs to me that he never includes in these posts when he talks about this. He never says, and I deserved to lose that stuff, right? Like he never acknowledges that, yeah, I screwed up, and it's beyond, boy, I had a sweat lodge and it went haywire. Like, it's to the point of like, boy, I didn't really know how to do a sweat lodge. Like, I thought I knew better than the people who actually knew how to do sweat lodges. So instead of, a Native American sweat lodge, to my understanding, typically has like maybe 2 or 3 rounds that, may last anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes and like 5 to 10 people at a time. James is like, oh no, I'm going to charge people $10,000 for the spiritual warrior retreat. And I'm going to cram them all. I'm going to cram 75 people into the sweat lodge at one time. And by the way, I'm going to have a sweat lodge specifically designed to become especially hot. Like if you take a look at the design of James's sweat lodge as opposed to traditional Native American sweat lodges, they don't have a lot in common. Like it was specifically designed to produce a more intense experience. And these are all choices that James made. Like this is not a matter of like, oh man, I planned for a safe event. And I planned for an event that minimized risk and something went really haywire. This is a matter of, wow, the predictable consequences of the event that I actually planned came true, right? I was taking a risk, and that risk did not pay off. One of James's old shticks, like you can see it in the movie Enlighten Us in the documentary, where he likes to talk about, he says, boy, you need to be willing to play full on, and you need to be willing to go too far. Are you willing to go too far to find out who you really are? And it's this terrible cliche, only he who risks going too far can really find out how far he can go. Like it's not a particularly original thought, but Sedona was a predictable consequence of James having gone too far and not having weighed the potential consequences, right? Now, for a lot of people, that's that's just a thing in life. People have different tolerances of risk, and some people are going to go too far. But when you are a personal development teacher, like now James brands himself as a leadership coach and a business consultant, right? Like when you are in that mentoring capacity, this becomes part of what you're teaching. Kind of that doctrine of, okay, like we're going to play full on and we're going to risk going too far. Does this strike you, given the results that James has produced in his life and in his business? Does this strike you as the kind of thing that you want to invest in? And again, it goes beyond whether anybody should work with James Arthur Ray. I want you thinking about anybody who has that particular spiel. Like anybody who has that particular shtick of like, oh man, we're going to create an intense experience. You're going to risk going too far. Now, I'm a psychologist. I can tell you that sure, you need to take risks in order to overcome obstacles. But these risks need to be calculated. They really, really do. Like they need to be calculated. You need to be cognizant of the things that you have to lose. You need to be cognizant of the tools and the skills that you have when you're considering taking that risk. Like it's not a smart thing to take a risk that you are ill prepared to take, right? And you also need to be cognizant of the other variables at play. Like so, for example, every now and then you hear people talking about, just talking about Sedona. And they're like, why did people, why did they even go into the sweat lodge? Why did they take that risk? Well, they took that calculated risk because they had been told, look, James has done the sweat lodge before. He knows how to do it. He's been trained. That was one of the biggest lies, right? He's been trained by the Native American traditions to do this, et cetera, et cetera. Generally speaking, this idea of James bringing up Sedona and what he lost and how he has kind of triumphed over that adversity as a marketing shtick. It's problematic when he does it. It's problematic when a lot of people in the self-help industry do it. Like I'm actually a big fan of some aspects of Tony Robbins' work. But something that bugs me about Tony is that he has a similar shtick. Like he has he's got the famous story about how he had to wash his dishes in the bathtub, right? Because he was living in this tiny, tiny apartment. It's too small to even have a sink apparently to wash his dishes in. It's that same kind of rags to riches story. It's the same kind of like, oh yeah, man, I was overweight and I'd gotten fired and I had no opportunity, etc., etc. But I overcame it, and you can too. It's that same problematic shtick because it oversimplifies things that are enormously complex. And it really leads people to a default position of victim blaming, I feel. Because it puts out that perspective that, look, we attract everything in our life. Like every single circumstance in our life, through the magic of quantum physics and the law of attraction, is attracted to us. I don't happen to believe that. I absolutely believe that we create a good chunk of our world, especially our internal world, like the world that happens in our head and the world that happens in our heart. And we can do a lot of things to kind of design the world around us. But there are sometimes we just get gobsmacked. There really are. There's sometimes we get a bad break. There's sometimes we get lied to. Sometimes we get deceived, right? It's not as simple as we create everything that happens in our life. And I think that's one of the reasons why James's whole shtick about, boy, when things are falling apart, they will really come together on a grander scheme. Like now he frames Sedona. Like if you watch the Enlighten Us documentary, and I'll actually post a link to that documentary in the comments for this post. But if you watch that to the end, he will actually say, he says, look, I think I know why Sedona happened. He says, Sedona had to happen in order, for me to grow into the person that I am now. Like he truly thinks that 3 people had to die and over a dozen other people had to be seriously injured so he could learn and grow, so he could put out the amazing life-changing content that he puts out. It's problematic, and again, I can't emphasize enough. I want you guys thinking about not just how this is problematic for James Arthur Ray. It's plenty, like he will always put out problematic stuff because that's who he is. I want you thinking about how this is not a problem that is confined to James Arthur Ray. Like, we see this everywhere in the self-help industry. This is one of the reasons why Seek Safely exists, to point out these kind of patterns and to get everybody thinking about the fact that, oh man, sometimes it is not that straightforward. And sometimes people manipulate narratives such that they think they have something to sell. One other thing that before I sign off, I just want to throw out there, James, again, he uses that spiel because he thinks it's marketable. Right now, like I'm recording this in late January 2020, like right now he has a particular stake in pushing that narrative because he has a book. You can get it on, right now I will do James Arthur Ray a service. James, are you watching? I know you're watching. I know you're watching because you love watching stuff about yourself. Hello. James, I will do you a favor. I'm going to tell the world about your book. It is called The Business of Redemption. I think that the subtitle is something like The Price of Leadership in Both Life and Business. He likes that buzzword business. He really does. Like he thinks that people hear business and what they actually hear is like, I'm going to get rich. He's trying to remove himself from the self-help industry by calling himself a business consultant. It's really cute. It's adorable. It's adorable. Just like most things that James puts out. It's adorable in all the wrong ways. But he's got this book. It's already available via Kindle. Apparently you can order it. He went to a vanity publisher called Morgan James Publishing. If you Google Morgan James Publishing, you'll find that basically the way that people get books published through Morgan James Publishing is they agree to buy a certain number of those books themselves. All right, so he's come a ways since like his big book that his bestseller Harmonic Wealth was published by a label called Hyperion, which is like in the end it's a Disney company, right? So it's been a while. But he's got this book, and as the title suggests, he is pushing a narrative here about redemption, like he's trying to push a concept called that he calls redemptive leadership, and I really love this. How can you not love it? How can you not love the idea that redemption as a concept necessarily it implies that there's a cost, right? Like there's a price you need to pay. He even kind of acknowledges this in the subtitle of his book, like the price of leadership, etc., etc. But going back to what he posted today, James Arthur Ray rarely acknowledges that the price he paid after Sedona was a perfectly, I was about to say it was a perfectly appropriate price. It wasn't. It was an inadequate price. He served 1.5 years in prison. 3 people are dead. 4 people if you count Colleen Conaway. Do we really think that the loss of his business and the loss of his reputation and the loss of his liberty for about 18 months, do we really, really think that was an adequate price? Has he really been redeemed? Add into that the fact that he's once again kind of out there in the self-help industry. I know he likes to brand himself as a leadership consultant and as a business consultant now, but make no mistake, he's part of the self-help industry. Again, he's out there pushing the very same philosophies, tools, products that he was selling before Sedona. These are the same philosophies, the same tools, the same products, the same worldview that made Sedona inevitable? Do we really think that that's a recipe for redemption? Are you really interested in what a man like this has to say about the concept of redemption? I don't want anybody to think that I just pound on James for the sake of pounding on James. I pound on James because, again, he is a wonderful case study for a problem that in some ways is really pervasive in this self-help industry. The bottom line is we need to be really cognizant of the narratives that various teachers push in order to make themselves marketable. And really, really look at the results those leaders have produced in their lives, in their businesses, in the lives and businesses of, see, now he's got me doing it. Now he's got me saying business over and over again. Can't stop. But take a look at the results that they have helped others produce. You know, like in psychology, you know, we have this idea of empirical validation, right? Like empiricism is a worldview that says, show me. You know, I need to see some results. So whether you're looking at James Arthur Ray or whether you're looking at any other teacher, coach, consultant, blah, 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 show me. Show me the results. Show me the results in your life. Show me the results in the life of people with whom you've worked. Those are my thoughts, gang. Go forth. Be nice to yourselves. Seek safely. Ciao.